Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Covenant Army Podcast, where our mission is to equip couples to align with God and win the daily battle raging against marriage and family. I am Brent, and I'm here, as always, with my beautiful wife, Miss Lucy. So, baby girl, how you doing today?
I am doing fabulous.
It's a wonderful...
Sweetie.
Sweetie, I wasn't expecting that. I started talking over the top of you. I apologize. Tell me again, what was that last part you said?
Which part?
The sweetie part.
Sweetie.
You missed it already? Man,
sweetie, honey.
I like that. I like that. Terms of endearment.
You like that?
I do. Words of affirmation. It's affirming to me that you still like me.
I do still like you.
Which is super awesome. Will you like me after we talk about this topic today?
Yes, of course.
Because this topic today, correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of the top reasons for divorces in America today.
It's the second top reason.
What's the top reason?
Infidelity.
Infidelity. Which I can understand that because that's actually a biblical reason for divorce.
Well,
I know that's a whole nother conversation.
Not necessarily you have to get divorced.
You don't have to get divorced.
But yes, that is one of the things that Jesus talks about where you could have grounds for divorce, but not necessarily the go-to.
No.
Because we have seen marriages restored after infidelity.
100%.
So, but yeah,
okay, that's
the number one reason is infidelity, but the number two reason.
Well, hold on, we don't want to give it away too soon.
Oh, okay.
You want to run just into it, babe. You got to kind of throw it out there a little bit because people.
I thought you already talked about it.
No, I haven't.
You did.
When did I talk about it?
No.
When you go back and listen to this podcast, you're going to be like, what was I thinking? I don't know. You're just in the moment. Probably because we talked about this topic earlier.
Yes.
Because it's impacting so many marriages. It would probably be safe to say, I'm going to say 95% of the people we talk to, this topic comes up. Is that much or maybe more? What would you say?
I think that's a pretty close number.
Yeah. It's a big issue in marriages.
Yeah.
And guys, if you don't know what that topic is, it is money, 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 money.
Yes, money is a hot topic in many marriages. A lot of the couples that we talk to, they have some kind of situation happening with their money,
with their man,
and how they manage it is what I meant to say. Manage.
I thought you were gonna say with their man. I'm like, boy, you're really gonna get the comments going now if you start talking about that. But yeah, money. I mean, it's been something that's popped up even in our marriage, and we've got a pretty great marriage, I gotta say.
I think it'll touch everyone, every couple, every married couple. You'll have some kind of challenge. I'm going to say challenge that'll come up in your marriage at certain times of your marriage that has to deal with some kind of money issue.
Well, it is because, like you said, it touches every area of our lives. I feel. Like it's. I mean, obviously, you look in Scripture, money is the second most talked about topic in the Bible, right?
I'd have to go back to confirm that, but I know it's in there quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's talked about a lot about money. I mean, Jesus himself talks a lot about money, right?
Not really in a positive way.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. But that's not what we're talking about today. That's a whole nother podcast. But the point is, like, God's word has a lot to say about money.
Yes.
And obviously, since God is the creator of things, right? All things. He's a creator of marriage and money. He had to have a plan and a design for money in marriage.
That's probably why, since you mentioned it, so many scripture verses on marriage that are in the Bible is because we're going to have lots of challenges with money.
100%.
Right?
Yep. So, what kicked all this off is that we were having a conversation because we had posted a video on our social media pages the other day with Dave Ramsey. And if you guys haven't heard about Dave Ramsey, he's a great money guru, I'll call him, expert.
Yeah.
And we like his approach because he's really straight through the front door and how he communicates about everything. He's pretty, like, no mess, no bull.
Cut and dry.
This is just how it is, and if you don't like it, sorry, move on. At least that's how I perceive him. Is that how you perceive him?
That specific video, too, was like...
I think it's with everything.
It was hilarious to me.
Well, I love it.
As I'm watching and I'm hearing the conversation that's happening, because it's actually just the caller calling in to ask him questions about how to handle money in marriage.
I was going to say, yeah, money in marriage.
Money in marriage.
Which is very specific.
And it's, if you guys haven't seen it, please go back into our page and check it out. It's for some of you, you might find it as delightful as I did.
I think for some, they might, like the lady on the call, she didn't find it so delightful.
I don't think
she
so.
was kind of knocked off her socks a little bit because she was hearing some truths that I don't think she ever heard before.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what made it so impactful. But that brought up the conversation, like, babe, I don't think we've done a podcast on money yet. And that's pretty interesting since, marriage is our jam.
I think maybe we've touched on it little bits here and there, but we've never done like a full podcast on money.
And we're not going to get into like real deep into finances and money. That's not our job. That's not what we do. We're talking about in the aspects of how money is affecting marriage per se. Like some biblical principles to help smooth out the issues that pop up in marriage, right? That's not saying you're never going to have issues, but if you can get some of these truths down that we're going to share with you today on this podcast, it can definitely alleviate some of those issues.
Yeah.
So when you come to that crossroads, it's not going to be such a huge thing that can totally derail your marriage.
Okay, so one of the first things right off the bat that I think we need to share is if you're listening to this and you're not married yet, and you're dating, hopefully you've had a money talk.
What do you mean money talk?
Have a conversation about, like, if you're seriously dating and you're considering this person for marriage. I pray that you have had a conversation about finances and how you are going to handle finances, that you've shared about your debt, the other person's debt, and how you guys are going to handle it going into marriage.
Well, two things I see with that. Number one, I don't think a lot of people feel comfortable to have those conversations because most people, no one ever really sets a person down and talks to them about money. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I know me when I was growing up, I don't remember anybody ever setting me down and saying, okay, this is how money works. This is how you manage it. This is what you're supposed to do. Like, I didn't have anyone in my life speaking that into me. So when I came to marriage, it wasn't even like a thought process. I know when we got married, it's like, okay, well, we're getting married, we're together, and it's all going to come together and we'll make it all work for us.
Yeah.
But we never really sat down and had a discussion on really how that was going to look.
To get a good understanding on how you're a spender and I'm a saver.
No, like it wasn't even a thought in my mind until after we got married. And then it became very evident we had very different views about money.
Yeah.
We were probably polar opposites, I would say.
Well, yeah. You're a spender and I'm a saver. I don't think you get more opposite than that.
You keep saying that like it's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's just different.
We learned how to work together to make it work for our marriage.
Yeah. So with that being said, guys, the first principle we want to share with you guys, if you've never heard it, you're going to hear it today, is that once you get married, it's no longer your money or my money. It now is our money.
You guys hear that? Our money?
Yes.
Our money.
Yes. And that's huge, right? And with that being said, it's not your debts or my debts. It's our debts.
Right. After you get married, they do become our debt.
And that's one of the issues that we see with, in some of the couples that we meet with. People think, okay, well, now that we're married, and number one, some couples keep stuff separate, which we're going to get into that in just a second, how that can be a problem. But then also they keep their debts separate. Like if, let's say you had a student loan, which is something that a lot of people are facing today.
Right.
Number one, they might feel guilty and feel like, well, I brought this big debt in. I need to take care of this. Don't you worry about it. You don't have to use your money for that. I'll take care of it with the money that I make. Like that causes issues, right? In marriage, because once you marry someone and you guys come together in that oneness that God has designed marriage to be, why would you not think that oneness would bring in everything?
Well, that's what oneness is. Like when you get married, the preacher typically says the two now become one. When you become one, that means you're becoming one in everything. Because typically when you're reciting vows, there's not like a separation of different things while you're reciting the vows to become one.
I wonder if they were to do that, would people like stop it? Hold on a second. I don't want to go along with that. I mean, would you stand on the altar and like say if we were getting married? This is crazy because it's a long time ago. But if we were getting married, like do you promise to honor, love her, and cherish her, to death do you part, all the good stuff. But like section 2, part B, unless, you bring in X amount of debt, we're going to keep that separate and that's going to be yours and that's going to be his.
That's not even a marriage. You know what that is? That is roommate situation.
Mm.
It's really, and we can jump right into that point. People get married to say, okay, well, I get paid X amount of dollars. You get paid X amount of dollars. So I'm going to contribute this much toward the bills and you contribute that much. That's lunacy.
What's definitely crazy. I'm trying to think about from that what that looks like for a roommate. I mean, ideally, you get roommates because you want to save money, right?
Yeah, so you want to split the bills.
So you can split the bills, so the pressure wouldn't be so much on you.
Yeah.
Right? Am I thinking about that?
Yeah.
I never had a roommate, so
yeah, me neither.
I mean, I can't answer that, but that's what I would think why someone would do that.
Right.
Which I understand it. Like if you're a single college kid,
right,
and
lightens the load a little bit.
Yeah, you're making a lot of money. You're in school, so to still be able to have the place you want to live, you get a roommate.
And to still, have some ramen noodles with whatever you got left over.
If you got money left over, right? So you split the stuff up. I get it. It makes sense. However, in marriage, how does that even, it doesn't even
Why
work.
would you want to do that in marriage? That's the question. Like, why would you want to get married to still do the roommate thing?
Well, you shouldn't, because marriage is about partnership.
Right.
Like, hear what I'm saying. It's partnership. It's that we each carry the load together.
Together.
The Bible talks about not being unequally yoked.
Right.
That yoke, that picture of that yoke is that the two are tied together, bound together, carrying this load together.
Moving together, correct.
Right? Even if it's because I'm picturing oxes. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's oxen. Is that the way you say it properly?
Sure.
But you have a big oxen. Typically, the other ox is not usually as big.
Not as strong.
Well, big, as strong. Yes, baby. But the point is, they're both carrying this yoke.
Right.
Like, they're both carrying the weight of whatever load is behind them.
Yes.
In marriage, that's the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So if we come into marriage and we have a debt,
yes,
we are yoked up, and the load is back there, the debt, and we're going to carry this stuff together.
So the money has to be combined and together. Your money properly. And my money becomes our money. So now that debt gets taken care of with our money, the money that we both bring in to the marriage.
But I want to go on further with this picture because I think it's important, because the next point we're going to talk about, it doesn't matter who makes more, right? Because just because you make more doesn't mean you get more say, right? And there's a problem there, and it's the same picture with the ox. I don't know if this is all coming to me now, so hopefully it doesn't come out very twisted. But think about that big ox and a little ox, right? What if that little ox...
I don't know, is that how they paired them up? Got to be a little one or a big one? I thought it was the same size, but one of them is stronger than the other.
But even if they're the same size, doesn't mean they can pull the same weight. Think about it, right? The point is, maybe one's not feeling so hot.
Right.
So it can't pull the same weight as the one that's feeling great. Right? But we're not focused on who's pulling more or who's not. We're doing this together because at the end of the day, we need to accomplish the mission.
Right.
So just because you may be bringing more in, you can't negate the mission that you've been given to function together as a team and as a unit.
Right.
Because this is the truth. In marriage, you either win together or you lose together.
Right.
It doesn't matter who brings in more, because this is a team element, right? If those debts don't get paid, guess what? We both go down.
Right.
Both of our credit gets ruined. It's not just one or the other.
Well, see, and there's where some people might throw in, well, no, because that debt was under his name or her name, so it's not really going to affect my credit.
Okay, maybe it won't affect your credit, but I guarantee it's going to affect your marriage.
It's going to affect the marriage. It's going to affect how you guys move forward financially together.
Well, yeah, it's going to affect your life. And that's, you can't get wrapped up in the weeds there. It's just a principle that covers down on all areas.
Right.
You can't look at just this one area and think, well, that's not going to affect it. Yeah, it's going to affect it.
So basically, point here, guys, if one of you guys makes more than the other, it doesn't matter. That just means our money is bigger because we're combining our stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that's a hard one to swallow. A lot of people don't like that.
It doesn't matter if they don't like it. It's the truth.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why you marry, because we are combining our life together.
Well, if you don't want to combine it, you probably shouldn't get married.
Correct.
Right? Because sooner or later, it's going to end up being an issue.
And if you're afraid to have financial conversations before you get married, I wouldn't get married. Because why are you fearful? Why are you fearful talking about finances and combining money, and this is the amount of debt that you're bringing, and don't get married until you were 100% on this principle.
Well, because the part we want to share with you guys is marriage is all about becoming one in all areas, including our finances.
Right.
If you're not willing to become one in that area, again, that's where you got to pull back and go, why don't I feel like this? Maybe I'm not ready to get married.
Right.
Or even identifying that person who you think might be marriage material if they're not ready to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to have that conversation, to identify this stuff early on.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not waiting until after you already get married.
It's better. Listen, if you are scared that person might run, if you talk about your debt or your expectations about money in the marriage, as long as they're all realistic and they want to run, let them run. Because that's probably not a person that was going to stay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's true. So the next thing is we want to talk about with money, right? Hiding money from each other.
Ooh.
Right? When when a spouse feels, for whatever reason, they can't be openly and honest, transparent with the money that they have. And this can happen for many different reasons. Let's just say you get a bonus check from work, right? Unexpected, you get a bonus. Now you got this idea in your mind, well, this is my money because this is my bonus. So I'm just going to kind of put this over in my little special savings, and whenever I need it, it's there. But you never bring it and share it with your spouse. They never know you got it. Is that wrong?
That is 110% wrong.
But it happens.
I know.
And it ends up causing resentment from the other spouse, right? Because there's,
I actually was faced with that situation before you. An ex of mine was working, and he would get bonuses and little spiffs. And I didn't know about them. I came across a folder one day that was labeled Mama Don't Know Money.
No way.
I promise you.
Mama Don't Know Money?
That's exactly what he wrote on this folder.
Well, now I know why he's an ex.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember it was like a feeling of betrayal was how I can describe it. It was like a punch in the gut feeling of betrayal, because you think you know someone and then you find out that he's hiding something from you. Like that was not a good feeling. So if any of you guys are doing this, figure out why you're doing it, and you may want to have a conversation with your spouse, because typically it stems from some kind of fear or trust issue.
Bottom line, you can't hide stuff from each other.
Correct.
I know we're talking about money, but this goes in all areas of your relationship. If you feel like you have to hide something from your spouse, that's a big red flag for you.
Yep.
Something's wrong. You're probably doing something wrong, just to be straightforward, and you shouldn't do that.
Correct.
So if that is happening, I agree with you. You need to come clean.
Yeah.
Honestly, bite the bullet and be honest, man.
Yeah. Going into marriage, there shouldn't be any area that you can't say this is ours. Everything should be ours. Everything. You should be able to talk about anything with your spouse, because everything is yours together.
It is yours together. That's talking about equality, and that's the next thing I wanted to talk. The part, when we said before, it doesn't matter if one makes more, one makes less financially, right? If you're bringing in more or bringing in less, that's not what it's about.
Right.
Each spouse gets equal say in how these money is going to be allocated and what they're going to be used for.
Yes. Amen.
Now, this is the best scenario for the marriage to work in a healthy arena.
Right.
Because if one spouse feels, again, just because they bring in more money, they get more say, it's going to end up causing problems in the marriage.
It is. Or if there's one spouse that does like the bills every month, is just better handling the budget and the finances, it doesn't mean that person gets more say either. It just means you're better at handling the bills and sending everything out on a timely basis, but your spouse should be right there with you, understanding and knowing everything that's coming in and everything that's going out and what's left over.
Right. So the big part, the next point here is that agreement needs to be the goal. When it comes to your finances, agreement needs to be the goal as a unit. Husband and wife coming together and in agreement deciding how we're going to allocate these funds and these money.
Yeah.
And again, because you need both parts to get a better understanding of what's going to be best for your family.
Right.
Again, that's not negating the husband as the leader at all. He's there to implement, to make sure things are happening the way they're supposed to go down. He's the one there making sure they're going to follow through on what they're meant to do, right? To keep everything in moving in the right direction is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But that information and that input from your spouse and from your wife is important.
Yeah. If you find yourself in your marriage wanting to keep all the money in check and in control, then you probably have a closer relationship with your money than you do with your spouse. And that's a sad place to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
that means you're prioritizing money over your spouse.
Well, God talks about himself. He warns us about this. He says, you're either, I'm going to have to paraphrase it because I didn't read this before, but you're going to either love God or you can't love both God and money.
Right.
And I don't have the verse. I'm so sorry. It just came right off the top of my head because I think it's important to the point that we're talking on.
Right.
Like you can't serve both God and money. You have to choose who your master is going to be.
Because you're going to love one and hate the other.
Think about that. You're going to love one and hate the other.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And for us as believers, we've got to keep God in that place of God.
Right.
We can't let money become that God in our life because it's going to cause us to get off of God's blessing and God's provision for us.
Right. We can't let money become God, and we can't let money take the space that is meant for our spouse.
Right. And i.e., like, God is supposed to be the one that's helping making our decisions, not our checkbook.
Correct.
And a lot of times, because we can see the checkbook, we can see the numbers, and it makes sense and it's logical, we start basing a lot of our decisions just on logic alone.
Right.
And kind of keep God to the side. Like, God, you can have, you can be God in every other area, but not this area of my checkbook. And again, that comes from different fears, different relationship that you have and understanding who God is.
Right.
Like the principle that God is the provider. Every penny that you have in your checking account is because God has given that to you.
Right.
And that doesn't mean if it's a lot or little. That's not the point. The point is that every penny that you have is something that has been given to you by God. Your job is how you manage that penny that he's given you.
Right.
Are you using that money to honor and glorify God?
And yeah, you may be the one earning it, like you're going out to work for it, but God gave you the ability, the talent, the skill to be able to go out and earn that money.
Right.
So everything belongs to God. And like you said, we are all here just managing it.
And you're going to be better managers together.
Correct.
Husband and wife coming together, again, putting your heads together, right? In prayer, going to God and asking God, how do you want us to use what we've been given?
Right.
In this area of money, as far as what we're going to give, right? What we're going to save, what we're going to invest. So you guys can make good decisions that will be honoring to God. And
furthermore, you're teaching your kids how to handle money when you're doing it the way that God calls you to do it. They're learning. Because, growing up, my parents, they didn't have any kind of education as far as how to handle money, right? They taught me with what they learned and what they knew. So I can't fault them for what they taught me. But now that we kind of educate ourselves about this area of finances and money, now we have an opportunity to teach our kids to do something different.
Yeah. I think the next point that we want to make sure that people really get a hold of, and I know we mentioned it, but I just want to say it again, is that you guys are on the same team. You're not in competition. Right? You guys come together and work together, and that's going to help you give the best results with how you're going to use the money that God's given you.
Right.
You're not in competition with each other. If you're working against each other, your money will end up becoming a curse instead of a blessing.
Right.
It will end up causing division in your marriage. You want things that are going to bring you guys together in unity, right? And it's meant to be a tool to help you guys, not harm you guys. So if if money has become that thing that is causing all this discourse and a bunch of arguments and a bunch of disagreements, just use as an indicator, we've gotten off course from God's plan. And we need to reset and bring God right back in the center of this and find out what's happening, what's going on.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself.
And if you're having issues in the area of finances and getting a hold of your debt, Dave Ramsey has a phenomenal resource. It's called Financial Peace University. A lot of churches have that group or resource available at church.
Yeah, you can probably find it on his website as well.
Yeah. On his, I don't have his website up right now.
You search
but
Dave
I'm
Ramsey.
sure you can find Dave Ramsey. Yeah. He's pretty popular guy. But get help with your finances. Get aligned with how God wants you to steward your finances with your spouse in marriage, to understand how much of a blessing it is to walk alongside each other in the area of finances.
Yep. And the truth of the matter is, if we can get on board and work together in this area of managing our money, taking care of our finances, our marriage is actually going to be stronger. And that's what we hope that a lot of couples take away from this. Oneness.